The personal pronoun you in the law, being both singular and plural, properly addresses the essential plural nature of just the single, all-cap person entity, it says. The key to benefiting from this is to grasp who the correct components are within that person entity. Who are the plural components? I know that sounds a little tough to understand. I get it. But there's a reason I'm telling you. It's because you are the creditor and not the debtor. All the bills go to you. Every letter you ever get from a banker will say, "Dear Bob, you owe." Who the hell's you? When we learn the English language, and we pay close attention to definitions, we learn a tremendous amount. I don't know where Leland went, the guy that was sitting in the green chair. If you're in here, raise your hand. He's probably in the restroom. That's my timing thing. See? Okay. I've known that man a long time. I helped him through a lot of stuff. I helped him beat the IRS. The IRS threw him in prison at one time. And then we kicked the IRS's butt. And they removed several $1 million worth of tax liens off of him. Because we pretty never owed him in the first place. He's really a hero in the way he went about things and what he used to do. I'm not going to tell you his story. I'm just going to tell you that fact. You can get to know him yourself later if you want. But it took me 3 years of pestering him to get him to move down to Texas. Now he lives in Texas near us. And in doing so, you look at me and you go, 3 years ago, you weren't moving to Texas. That's right, I was trying to get him to move to Oregon first. I just needed him near me in order to do certain things. I needed the help in certain areas. And now, if you've got a problem with the IRS, talk to him. And he'll help you with the IRS. Nothing's ever guaranteed with the IRS, but we've made hundreds of cases go away. And with his knowledge, because he had the experience of fighting them himself with my own, he made a mockery of them. They are easy to beat. In fact, the IRS is extremely easy to beat. They rule over your life through fear, by coercion, by making you believe they can do anything they want to you. No. They have to prove things, and they can't. They have to do all kinds of things, and they can't. And you have to meet their definitions of things, and you don't, for them to have control. We're going to go into that in a little bit. The letter I was telling you about from the Office of the Secretary of State, I'd like to read it to you. Office of the Secretary of State, Ruth R Hughes of the state of Texas. Certificate of fact is coming from her office. Certificate of fact. It's got her seal on it from the state of Texas. Her signature. It says, the undersigned, the Secretary of the State of Texas, hereby certifies that Diligent search of the records of this office was performed on the name Internal Revenue Service. It is further certified that the search revealed the following. There is no record of a domestic corporation, professional association, limited partnership, limited liability partnership, or limited liability company by the name searched Internal Revenue Service. There is no record of a foreign corporation, professional association, limited partnership, limited liability partnership, limited liability company, business trust, real estate investment trust, or other foreign filing entity with a registration to transact business in the state of Texas by the name searched Internal Revenue Service. There is no record of an out-of-state financial institution registration by the name searched Internal Revenue Service. There is no record of an assumed name certificate on file by the name searched Internal Revenue Service. There is no record to indicate that a designation of agent for service of process is on file for any Texas financial institution, an incorporated nonprofit association, or a defense-based development authority by the name searched Internal Revenue Service. In testimony whereof I have hereunto signed my name officially and caused to be impressed hereon the seal of the state of my office in Austin, Texas on May 11th of 2020, Ruth R Hughes, Secretary of State. There's 25 million taxpayers in Texas who pay money to a business, a private for-profit corporation owned by the IMF, which is not even part of the United States. And they're just voluntarily, under the pains and penalties of perjury, filling out the forms themselves and voluntarily submitting through their own compliance. You volunteer for that. What's that? Yeah, absolutely. Well, President Trump said it the best, I guess, so I'll use his words. Stop funding the cabal.
Amen.
Oh, I'm going to have some fun. Our MCO guys can teach you about the Texas criminal and traffic laws if you'd like to learn. And you'll see why you do not need a license or register your vehicle in any state in the United States, especially Texas. Their laws are clear, concise, black and white, written down, and they're simple. You don't need it. Every single time we're stopped by police in Texas, if we know what we're doing, we can rescission the ticket. If they don't follow what they're supposed to do and just shred everything and get rid of it, if they decide they're going to take you to court, you can put them on notice. You can put them on second notice. You can put them on third notice. And if they don't drop it then, you can go into court and you can beat the crap out of them with their own laws. It's pretty simple to win. In fact, there's no way to really lose. I had so much fun with the judge. I begged him to give me a ticket. The only funny things you could find to give me a ticket on was my insurance card was expired. Great. I don't care. Give me a ticket for something. So this one ticket I didn't rescind. Normally I just rescind them all, they just go away. But I didn't rescind this one because I wanted to go educate a judge in my county. See, if I could do that a couple of times, they'll never bother me again. That's the way it was in Oregon. In Oregon, I'd be talking on my cell phone, driving without my seatbelt, maybe going 5 miles an hour, the speed limit, make the corner without putting my turn signal on and wave to them as I go by. And they wouldn't come after me. Because the judges told him, leave him alone, he costs us too much money. And I made a pretty good living there for a while. And I could do that anywhere I go, I can make a pretty good living. I'll tell you about a guy that went to a class just like this about 6 or 7 years ago. And he was from Texas and I wasn't. For a couple of years, he was like a sponge. He wanted to learn everything. And he'd email me and I'd just feed him. I have more time than I have now. And I would just feed him information and documentation, and I'd feed him laws. And then he got to where he wasn't asking anymore because he learned how to do his own research, for one. I got too busy, for two. And eventually we just kind of lost track of each other. And then January 6th rolls around, and I'm in D.C., with everybody else. And he calls me on the phone. Hadn't heard from him in several years. I said, hi, how's it going? What are you doing nowadays? He asked me. He says, are you still doing those seminars? Are you still doing them? I said, yeah, I just love my people. I'm going to keep training them until they're all trained. I said, what are you doing? He says, I'm just enjoying life. This guy was in his late 20s when I started, right? He goes, I'm just enjoying life. I just go about my business. I go here, I go there, I do whatever I want to do. Life is great. I says, well, what are you doing for a living? He acted a little shocked that I asked him. He says, I'm doing what you told me to do. I said, well, how much money are you making? He says, I'm making $400,000 or $500,000 a year just building government. He's in his 30s. That's what he does for a living. Nice gig if you can get it. Anyway. It's all about standing. It's about having the knowledge and the strength to stand. Standing is something I can't teach you. I can teach you status, I can teach you jurisdiction, I can teach you enough logic to more than get by and solve your problems. But I cannot teach anyone how to stand. I just can't. You got to do it for yourself. You've got to have the strength to stand there. The judge calls you in the court and you walk in with all of your stuff and stand there at attention and say, I'm ready. And stand firmly on your status, your jurisdiction, your rights, your titles, your trusts, your contracts. Can you do that? When you do that, they can't touch you. And you're doing the right thing. You're doing what God wanted you to do. I've had judges look at me and say, you show no qualm. That little girl that was defending herself against the January 6th committee crap, the judge told her, you show no qualm. You know what show no qualm means? It means show no fear. You don't show any fear. When you're knowledgeable, fear goes away. It gets fun. See, I had to get that ticket. I had to show up in traffic court. And I walked in the building, and this lady at a glass window says, the waiting room's over there. We'll call you all in a minute into the courtroom, which is over there. So I walk into this waiting room, and there's a whole bunch of people sitting 6 feet apart. And none of them had any documentation. I walked in with a bag. They walked in naked. I walked in with a bag. They had nothing with them. And then we all got to go into the courtroom, and I sat in the back. I'm a back of the bus kind of guy. And I sat in the back.